This is ContactTalkRadio.com, Consciousness in Action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. This is I'm your host today. We have a special day going today. Janet Barrett in Portland, Oregon. And my co-host, Joan Newcomb, who's usually up in Tacoma, is adventuring in New York, helping with family matters there. So it'll be me today and our special guest, who I'm so glad has been able to arrange being with us, Danielle Egnew. And we'll get into her. Let me get you our show announcements out of the way. Well, not out of the way, because they're important, because we want to be connected. But let's see. So if you want to join us at our website, the show's website at www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. There you're going to find out, you'll have access to all these podcasts. Joan and I have been doing this show for 3-4 years now, and there's so much pertinent current information, because as consciousness there's no time or space, so whatever is posted, you're still accessing the field of it and helping embody it. And so it doesn't matter when the show was, it's still active and alive for you. And you'll also find there about our blogs. Both Joan and I write weekly about what's going on in our groups and lives, and how that might pertain to you is something to pay attention to. Both our meetups, Joan up in the Puget Sound area. She's in many little towns up there, big towns, in libraries. She knows every library and coffee shop there is, I think. And then about our sessions. Both she and I work with clients in different varieties of ways. And you'll find our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube links on that site there. And we're running a special offer currently. If you check out the website, you can access, we have a special little treat to offer you there if you leave your email address, and mine is, I think it's concerning how to enjoy life, those 10, 12, 13 important considerations I think are let me see. They just are those consciousness cookies to remember during a day. And then we've got, Joan's got some wonderful technique there on how to embrace being conscious. And let's see what else you'll find there about my groups, Fuzzy Photons Playground groups that I offer on Thursdays, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. Pacific, both times. You can join me via Zoom video conferencing platform. You download to any of your devices, and it is like being here with me in person. We see each other. It's live, interactive. It is not a webinar. It is live and interactive. And it's for anyone who's not local to my area. So we have people from New Zealand and Albuquerque and Texas and California and Colorado, lots of different places, who are all interested in actively experiencing themselves as consciousness and what happens when we are in that space. So you're more than welcome to join us. We'd appreciate that, because we always appreciate new input. And you can get the registration packet at my website, Janet B. at Janet and Beyond. I'm sorry, that's my email address. Or at the show website, you'll be able to locate it there. And Let's see, what else do you need to know about Joan's meetups? She's taking a break here for this month, but she will be back in time for the Emerald Spiral Expo. That's going to be September 22nd at Kent Commons in Kent, Washington. She's going to present a talk there. She's got always great information and how she's noticing us in our world. So please consider joining her. That's from 9 to 5. I think it's a Saturday. And her talk is at 1 o'clock. She's going to be doing consciousness readings or technologies. I don't know. Sessions, mini sessions there. So join her that way. And I think that's those. So let me get into Danielle. Hello, Danielle.
Hi, Janet. How's it going?
Well, it's going busy. Now, I'm going to take a moment here and tell everybody your statistics, okay?
Okay, you go, girl.
Okay. We are so fortunate for Danielle to join us. She's always a lively energy here. We look to have her every 6 months or so on the show because she's so invigorating and vital and bright. And I think you can tell that already, listeners. So she is an internationally renowned psychic, medium, and angelic channeler. She's appeared on ABC, NBC, USA, TNT, and featured in the Washington Post and Huffington Post. Danielle has consulted on a number of television products, including Lifetime's America's Psychic Challenge, the CW's hit series Supernatural, and the blockbuster film Man of Steel. Danielle was named Psychic of the Year by UFO and Supernatural magazine and has been a presenter and keynote speaker at a number of spiritual and paranormal events. As an author, Danielle's paranormal books, Two Tales of the Truly Weird, debuted in Amazon's top 20. I'm sorry. As a director, Danielle's paranormal documentary film Montgomery House, The Perfect Haunting, was lauded as the real paranormal activity by Hollywood Today. Danielle is also an accomplished musician with her album You've Got to Go Back the Way That You Came. I love it. Winning Best Country Recording at the 2017 Native American Music Awards in New York. She's currently embarking on her National Ascension Tour, and she's going to tell us about that, channeling angelic messages live with her first stop in Portland, Oregon on September 8th. She's be in Boulder, Colorado on September 22nd, Minneapolis on October 20th, and there are other places she'll hit. So tickets are available online at www.ascensiontour.com. Everyone, we are blessed. Hello, Danielle.
Hi, Janet. Okay, take a big breath. I hope you still have oxygen in your system after all of that. That was insane, but thank you.
Yeah.
You rock.
This is what happens when you're a Renaissance woman, right? I mean, you're not just one thing. You're many things you embody, and we're all fortunate for that because it comes out in this truth talking, and I call it truth talking as opposed to no, let me be socially accepted talk. This truth talking vehicle and expression always. And I enjoy reading what you write and, just having enough self-awareness to know who you are. Now, I don't know how you got that way. Right? Because I know my own journey about knowing who I am.
Oh, girl. And, and isn't that just such the message of this feminine time frame that we entered into in 2012, and we had those 5 years of fade-in period, and now we're squarely in the time frame of the feminine. And that doesn't mean effeminate for males. I mean, all humans have masculine and feminine energies in them, right?
Right.
So it's just, boy, that's just self-awareness is the key to joy at this time frame.
Oh, it is, right? There's no reason to feel bad unless you're choosing it as a pathway to experience and to know yourself. right? I mean, I don't know if
that is so true.
I don't know if that's harsh to anybody, but that's really the way one holds it. If you're not attached to the outcomes, you just know you're in for the ride and you're going to have a hell of a ride, right? And you're going to really embody that roller coaster experience, whether you want to or not.
Well, and that's very true, love. And, you know, I have got to give you some serious high five, jump up and down, do some jazz hands, kudos regarding your blog, this latest blog that you had passed along that I read. And for those of you that haven't read Janet's blog yet, please do, because the same exact message that Janet received about how we're all leaders, we are all heroes, that was the same exact message I got a month ago. I put a video out on my YouTube channel about it, and it's so true. Because though we can be inspired, you know, Janet, you inspire me in so many ways. You are a hero to me in many different ways. You know, we can be inspired by somebody else, as your blog even stated, and this was just identical information that I got from the angelic realm. Yet we get to empower one another to be amazing, and we are all stewards of a particular portion of growth or of a particular movement in this time frame of bringing peace and awareness and healing to our planet. We are all a hero. We are all a leader. And when I read that, Janet, I was like, oh, my God, thank God I'm not the only person getting this message, because this has got to get out to everybody.
Right. Right. And we've seen it in the last 3-4 weeks, certainly. You know, I've been writing about superheroes and heroes and, you know, what we put out as entertainment and, you know, these things, and we're recognizing it in our people that are passing. And, you know, it's always about noticing in the moment what is present in any of us, right? And this stuff hides, and we've got it organized that way, and it's just great to be able to access it when you're ready for that. And that's what you're talking about, that feminine that's been showing up, right? And we're right in the flow. And what comes when you embrace those parts of yourself? So tell us about...
And the feminine.
Yeah. I guess it is. So what is it? We've got this time together. So what is it as we share with our listeners? And listeners, this is what we want you to be paying to. We do this show as our passion because it's about creating a space. It's about stepping into a space that is already there within each of us. And we're giving you that respite to notice. And one thing Danielle is so tuned into, because she works out of that space pretty majority of her time, I'm sure, like all of us that look to be this way, is how to embrace life. What are the joys and the passions that we all have? And this time is so wonderful for re-examining and redefining and tagging those. So on a earthly plane, we are active. We can get information from any place. Danielle, you travel those realms really all the time, it sounds like. So what would we like to talk about and explore with our listeners today, do you think?
Well, I love the idea that we are all stewards. We are all leaders in this time frame. And, you know, this ascension tour that I'm going on is all about explaining to people what our actual capabilities truly are, Janet, because we have been so summarily programmed for not 100 years, not 500 years, for thousands of years. Oh, girl, it's just bad. We are all struggling underneath of this Stockholm syndrome of worshiping the oppressor, you know, especially in America. You know, where we have such, and hey, listen, I'm gonna kind of rank on consumerism for just a second. Yet, I do not want to be a hypocrite, because I've got my cowboy boots I love, and I've got my guitars I like. So I am a consumer. Right. However, we have been programmed, Janet, to believe that what makes us happy is Americans. Okay, we've been programmed to believe what makes us happy is external. And because that costs money, and we buy things, you know, we buy a boob job, we buy a nice purse, we buy whatever to make us feel better. And we talk about what we, or a car.
Or a car. We don't want to forget the men in this.
Oh, God, really, fellas, a car, a better set of golf clubs, a faster boat, right? And a bigger gun. I mean, come on, guys, right? Or a bigger diamond for her because she won't love you unless you have money. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you talk about what's important during this time frame, Janet, and I feel that awakening the consciousness that truly exists below the world we've built on top of it, the angelic realm, calls this place of existence, Earth. They say that we are returning to the original world or the new world, depending on how we want to look at it. And that is the world that existed before we built like a tent over the top and put beans in it that we called money and we goof around there. This is all about being able to strengthen one another and understand that we are miracle machines. And Ascension Tour, I get to channel messages about that. But, girl, I think I would love to talk about your blog and about this video I put out a while back and about why it's important that we stop running after the one big savior. I mean, let's talk about the myth of the savior for a second.
Okay, and that is a great place. Let's take a break here and take our commercial breaks. Everybody, you got to have them. And so we'll put that thought on hold, but not too far because that field is pretty elastic and pretty vivid. And let's see when we come back. So hold on just a moment to your hats and your boots and your cars and just get comfy, everyone. We'll be right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Everyone, welcome back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm Janet. This week, co-hosted by a guest appearance. I don't know what to call you. Renaissance woman Danielle Egnew has joined us as Joan is off having her adventure in New York. So, okay, what do we recap it for us? We want to talk about what is it exactly?
We're talking about how every single person, every one of us, this is the time frame of the feminine. So every person is being called to stewardship, which is the new world or the original world term for leadership. Okay. And Janet, I think it's important that folks just understand that in the old world, and I'll preface this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
In the old realm, the old world, which the angels constantly are on this tape loop up in the ethers saying, the old world has passed away, the great mother has arisen. They go on and on about this. So, so here's my thought, Janet, and I want to know what you think. You've also experienced the awareness that all of us have some incredible knowledge to bring forward, and it's going to take everybody respecting one another's viewpoint to bring our incredible knowledge base together, because we are stewards as a group as opposed to the one anointed savior or leader. Though we do have people in leadership, yet I think the good leaders in this time frame are going to be able to be stewards and collectively create, rather than this is my way or the highway.
Right.
What do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Well, okay, so this has been something I've been tracking for a long time, and I think my awareness started back in 2000 when the world was supposedly ending and all this kind of stuff. And what I was aware of, so what, everybody remember that? so probably not, because life goes on. I think what I have noticed that this is, because I used to automatic write, I still do it now and then, so that connection's open, and it was about that we had no leaders, the one leader that you're talking about, because it was within each of us, and we were moving into this age of self-leadership. We were moving into out of the pool and becoming aware of self and how we are in our world. And I appreciate the Abraham perspective that this physical realm is about contrast. And I can see that playing out everywhere, that this is the time where we get to play with that. And we always use the term play, because as consciousness, it's not work. It's just a creative state. And anybody knows when you're in a creative state, you just go with what shows up. It's that child place where you don't have an assumption base. You just are in the moment of it. And that's really what we are in any moment. We are that child creator energy is always present. And you take a whole different slant on life. Your windows open up as to how you're going to experience. And so what you've been describing, and what, and I know you've been tracking this for a long time also, is that we are consciousness, we are God, we are source, we are universe. It's not so much a framework out there as an interactive state that we're in, and we're in all these different places at the same time. And there's all kinds of different things within consciousness. We are in the core of consciousness. We tend to think core is this small stuff. And really, I think consciousness core, everything that is ever was and ever will be, et cetera, is within the core of consciousness. So that's my framework and how we see it coming apart, and in this wonderful dynamic time for all of us. So is that an answer?
Honey, that is not just an answer. That is an epic answer. And you know what I think is fabulous is you mentioned Abraham talking about things, being in contrast. And my wife, Rebecca, loves to listen to Abraham Hicks. Now, I have listened to Esther Hicks channel Abraham maybe 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And literally, I don't tend to listen to a lot of Esther Hicks. Not that I don't love her. I love Abraham. I absolutely do. Right. Yet the chorus of angels and off-worlders that are talking to her, I mean, I'm kind of on that same frequency, and I'm not trying to say I am Abraham or I am important or anything like that. I'm just saying I hear that stuff all day, right? And I cracked up because one of my forums about a year ago literally was about, and I do these channel forums, was about how the human species is still learning through contrast. And Janet, there are other races in our universe that are far older than humans, that, the races that are from the Sirius AB system, the races that are from people like to call them Arcturian, which I think is a hilarious English translation of the realm or the planet or whatever you want to call it. The way that they pronounce it, the off-worlders, they pronounce, the best I can reproduce this with my vocal mechanism because we don't have the same voice office, but it sounds like to me Otur. And so Oturan is, if you want to call it the planet or the realm these folks are from, and our ear hears it as Arcturian, which I think is hysterical. So whether Otur, that realm has helped us, they've come down as the star people, so have the people from Sirius AB. This has to do with consciousness. And they were helping 10,000 years ago. They were helping the indigenous tribes in the Hopi Nation. Also, they were helping the folks down in Australia, the Aboriginal cultures. They were teaching those people about the stars. So why does this have to do with consciousness and being stewards of everything? Well, as we've gone in to this model of the earth being the center of the universe again, and humans being the center of all things, and one individual being the center of all power, as you said, we are actually seeking permission to explore our own power and our own place in the universe. So there's so much out there, and I think if we just can open our minds a little, and Abraham, who channels a lot of these off-worlders as well as the angelic realm, like your blog, we are all humanity, and if you're a listener hearing this right now, please note this. You're getting the same broadcast that I'm getting. You're getting the same broadcast that Esther Hicks is getting, the same broadcast that Janet is getting. Trust your broadcast. Trust your receiver.
Well, and I think what any of us serve as, and not that it's our intention to serve at, but each of us an example of consciousness in action. And that there's not a one way, there are many ways, and it's unique to the personality of the individual, right? And so it's not for me to judge, and I think this is where we kind of tend to get hung up, is because we are creatures on this planet, and that's the contrast, right? And so that comes with certain conditions and qualities about being present here, but we're not limited to the physical. We are accessing all the time these unseen energies and skill sets that we have, and so we can't get just tied into what we think we see, because what we think we see is literally a projection of what we think we are and how we are. And I think I was writing about that either. That's next week's blog that's coming out.
Right on, girl. You rock.
So you have to appreciate that we're all in different places with this. And you cannot judge apples and oranges and snakes and lizards and man with whatever he's got, because it's all the same and not the same. And it's in the particular form that it's in. So we want to appreciate and be open to whatever you've created as your reality is the reality you've created. We have common ground in that. And then we also have what is unique to each of us in it when we're on this plane. So I don't know why I'm telling you that, but there it is.
Well, because you know what's so funny? Right when you were saying that, I was picking up a particular frequency that you personally get into when you speak, when you're bringing through information. And Janet, you're a huge channel, you know, and
always.
So, so is Joan, and you guys both bring through this incredible information. So when you're speaking, because I am super sensitive to energy bandwidths and frequencies, I just feel that crown chakra just shift in you, and here comes this message from the universe, and I'm like, preach, girl, go! Because, you know, you've got amazing information for people.
Right. And it's all going to be unique to each of us, right? But
yes, absolutely.
That core is central to all of us. So what else? Let's see. Where do we want to go with it? So what are you noticing, Danielle?
Well, I'm noticing that it's interesting. I was speaking to a very dear friend of mine who's a producing partner of mine in a couple of television endeavors. And and she's a huge channel. She's a Qigong She doesn't call herself a Qigong master. I call her that. However, she's amazing. And we were talking about how I was very much noticing that there are two schools. And I've talked about this before, but boy, is it prominent now. Like two, if you go to college, you're in the school of science or you're in the school of communication or whatever. And I'm noticing this extreme school of love and a school of fear. And both of these degrees on a spiritual level, okay, on the other side, the PhD in love is worth just as much as the PhD in fear. However, I have been noticing since 2006, for many years, in 2006, I literally felt the coursework or the pathwork for love and fear rip apart, like two pieces of Velcro that just came apart. And it was shocking in the ethers. And basically back then, we were starting on a trajectory of either we were going to attempt to learn most of our lessons through love, or we were going to attempt to learn most of our lessons through fear. But that started way back then. So now we're clear down the pike on 2018 and a half. And there are people who are firmly invested in their particular learning path. So back to your point, right? There's going to be some folks. I'm in the learning path of love. Not to say I don't experience fear. Yet I don't look at the world through a lens of fear. I look at it through a lens of love and possibility. Now, the folks like Hogwarts, the folks who are in the school of looking at the world through fear, if we judge them and say, oh, there's a limitation in your consciousness and there's something wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. We've got to look at ourselves and say, why am I then becoming fearful of their path? Because there are just going to be people in this time frame that are going to be terrified of everything. And they're
just reactionary. They're just reactionary. They're just like, okay.
And that's
so
their learning path.
That's their
learning path. They've decided their soul came in here, and I've studied the energetics on this extensively. They literally came in to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and experience the greatest separation from source I possibly can. So I'm going to pretend I'm not connected to the universe. I'm going to pretend I'm alone in the world, and I'm going to operate under that auspice to see what type of consciousness that brings me. Now, if I'm somebody who operates under love and I just want to hug a tree and hug everybody, right? I want to go hug that person. Now, if they push me away and say, get the hell away from me, you crazy unicorn, I don't want you. I need to honor that and say, well, you know what? Rock on with your life path rather than being like, oh, I'm so wounded. You don't like me. I mean, so you're nothing to do with me, really.
You're talking about victim thinking. I don't think being alive is about being a victim unless it is for you. Right. And that is really an individual sport. And that's one way what you're talking about, learning. Now, it is great when you realize what you acknowledge so clearly and spoke so clearly of is when we're in a disembodied state and, your investment in being who you are is totally open to creative energy. And what would you like to experience? And I have come to that place because of my own life experience and appreciate now what that's brought me. I could have died physically, or I could change how I had set up what I thought the world I was part of. And in changing that, I've totally realized the freedom of my creation. Right? I'm not attached to that. I don't have an agenda in that except to notice and embody different experiences. And that's my life. And, it's, if you're going to go with passion and mission and all those things, we are each better for being who we are, the best of who we are, even if the best of us is a piece of shit. Pardon my French.
That's I mean, literally. And this tends to make people kind of upset because what I'm going to say tends to make people upset because we've been taught such tribalism and polarization. And keep in mind, everybody, in mind, polarization and tribalism. Tribalism is biological to a degree with humans. However, polarization is 100% a consumer marketing model. and you're this or you're that means I can sell you this or that. So just keep that in mind, folks. Write down the political franchises.
Well, I would think in that we want to be clear that polarization is also a dynamic present.
Yeah.
It's how you use it, right? And so how you either stay in it or how you appreciate it for what it brings, but also that there are other things in the spectrum and that we're going to navigate all these different dynamics. And people have lost their fluidity, their navigational skills, because we kind of get stuck. Our rotors get stuck, and we think we want to go somewhere, and we find we're somewhere else, and you go, I don't even know how I got here, not realizing that you've got yourself stuck, right? You just notice that life's going on, and you don't, I think we're so unaware on so many levels, Danielle. And whether
not an awareness.
Yeah, and you don't judge that. We don't judge that.
No.
We just appreciate that we're all these different places and that we're all in this together. And if we could realize that we are all in this together, and it's like herding cats in a bag, or, it's
and to your point of everybody, to your point of everybody being it together, what my observation has been, and maybe this is just a lens that I've been given at this particular time, yet my observation has been that there is such a lack of understanding what in this together actually means based upon, and I'm just speaking from the American perspective, obviously we're on the web, and so this is global. However, from the American perspective, we don't even realize, as you mentioned, how hard, and this is a real thing, we have been, they call it TV programming for a reason, how hard we've been programmed one way or the other, and we choose that programming, we choose that lesson. And it's not to say, boo-hoo, we're all victims. It's simply to say that my particular passion in this time frame is to assist in giving folks a few modalities through which we have given away our individual ability to be manifestors or given away our personal power because of the messages that a lot of times it's been an experiment in how much do we give away versus how much do we actually initiate. And some of our biggest world, quote, villains, and as you so eloquently pointed out, somebody's villain is going to be somebody else's hero right away.
Right.
So even some of our greatest world villains, when I look at their soul trajectory, Janet, holy moly, those are some seriously old souls that came in to just hold that. It takes a dedication to really come in and throw a wrench in the machinery over and over, right? Because most souls learn, and they're like, well, this is hurting people. I shouldn't do that. But an old soul can stick to the program to bring the learning in. So anyway, I find that super fascinating.
And that's the thing about what that learning looks like, what that learning feels like, how you're engaging yourself in that experience. And when you're focused on outcome as opposed to being, which is the challenge for us, and it's what we've created in this society, and one wants to judge that always, but we've got all these different opinions. When you look at it as consciousness and you see these dynamics, and what you're so well explaining and exploring always is that interaction between where are we? Because is this an evolutionary skill, or is this an evolutionary skewer, or is this an evolutionary alignment? Is this an evolutionary hell in a handbasket kind of approach?
Well, honey, I think that depends on what telescope you're looking through,
Yeah, really, and
man.
So that's what's we do, is we share who we are at heart. And some of us are going to wear the label maverick and different. And what we are is we're outside what the norm is. And I've always resisted the word norm because it was thrown at me all the time from a medical viewpoint in my years of illness pattern. I was always outside the norm, and the norm is a high and a low, and you throw that out and you mix and you get this norm range. And I was always on one end or the other of it. I was never in the middle of norm. And what that allowed me to do, though, was to be outside that system of belief and offer comment on it by way of being. And you can do that as resistance or defiance or however you need to be in order to hold that precious sense of self here on this planet in this form. Or you come to a place of appreciating your own dynamics and how this, in the overview of what's going on, which is what consciousness is always holding, I think. And we have to allow for it to change all the time. And we're not really geared for change on a human perspective. So we're always dancing, sometimes very clumsily, sometimes very delicately, with what change and shift mean, because you have to reorient, because we are creatures of orientation and placeholders, and we want to know where we are, and the body is built, that proprioception system is built so we know where everything is and us in it. So it's an interesting state to be human these days, but I don't think we're the final solution.
Well, no, and you might find this interesting, Gal, is that we have, and this has been brought to me, again, I'm certainly not the expert of the universe on all things, yet the angels that I communicate with, these are temporal beings. And first of all, people don't understand really the nature of angels. We personify everything in order to understand it. So we personify our car, we personify our boats, we personify angels. Angels are very much like a light switch. They are or they aren't. It is or it isn't. There is no need for, quote, gray area in the angelic realm because their lessons aren't our lessons. And so what I see categorically here when I receive these messages from angels, and I see the human personification of these beings, which, again, it's not right or wrong. I just sometimes, honest to God, it does make me chuckle a little. Right. Because, and everybody's going to experience angels differently, so I'm certainly not taking away that from another person. Yet I'm just kind of picking up the raw broadcast from these beings, and they are very brass tacks. They are very much like, hey, this is kind of this is the situation. Do with it what you will, but here's your weather forecast. And we have created these beings out of that to be these, they solely protect us, and their world is all about us. Actually, I want you to think about angels for a second, like this is a horrible analogy, but I have no other analogy, like a green beret, beret who is protecting a
Special
section
forces
of a war zone. Special forces. And they're fighting a whole other war and they're not even necessarily fighting, but they're dealing with a lot of other things. And humans are we're like on their bottom 2% rung of things to do, yet they're still super killing it as far as helping us and guiding us. And these temporal beings are so big. So this goes back to your point. Why am I talking about angels? Because, Janet, this goes back to your point about how we see our universe and create our universe. And we are at this time, and again, we all of our lenses are valid. This becomes difficult. If, say, you're someone like me who does not subscribe to the victimization of racism, and say there's somebody out there who completely does describe to the victimization of racism. Not to say racism is valid, for God's sakes. It's just to say that those learning paths, those people are on a very specific learning path. And here is one thing I will throw out, Janet, and I'd love your take on this. The one energy signature that I am finding categorically in this time frame that is a no-go. We can implement it, we can do it, we can throw it out there, but it's just going to fall flat and it has no momentum, is victimization. So we can try to marginalize and victimize, and even if we victimize ourselves, like you said, the victim mentality, That is the one energy signature in the feminine time frame that has zero inertia nor momentum. So we are learning that it's not about victimization. It's about empowerment. We can try to victimize. Just nothing's going to happen out of it, and we just fall flat.
Well, I think that isn't that the joy of the mother who says, this brings me pain. It's all right. That is what you're talking about. That's the power of the feminine that says, do what you will. That's Mother Earth going, do what you will. I will still be here, or I won't be here. There's not an attachment to an emotional state other than just grace and just you find life important. I mean, that's what I see when I'm in nature, is that we each experience what we experience, and there's an appreciation for that. I think also, I just want to quickly, because it looks like we're going to have to wrap this up here and take our break, and we've been enjoying our time with Danielle Egnew. We'll be back in just a few moments, everyone.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
We're back with Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet with our guest, Danielle Egnew. And I want to say hello to Joan out there because I know she's listening. I'm doing my best to honor you, babe, watching that time clock. So what else do we want to know? We've got just a few minutes. And what would you like people to know who are going to join you on your tour someplace, wherever that might be, Danielle?
Oh, Janet. Well, first of all, hi, Joan. Yeah. Secondly, I would really like folks to know that attending this event is not just about seeing some psychic you saw on TV go channel live messages. I mean, that's part of it, sure. However, it is about what happens when we collectively come together as a species and we become a resonant literal radio tower for all possibility. The human species is the only species that I have been able to communicate with, I'm not saying we're the only one in the universe, but of the ones I've communicated with, whether they are elemental, whether they are off-world in realms that have existed millions of years, aliens, whatever, before us, the human experiment is what our strength is the fact that we are unbelievably Bluetoothed together, all 8 billion of us. That means you're Bluetooth to Hillary Clinton. That means you're Bluetooth to Donald Trump. That means you are Bluetooth to everyone. And so what I get the opportunity to do is not only am I translating some pretty dang hefty, cool messages, in my opinion, that these beings are bringing through. However, we get to turn on and really, well, our Bluetooth is on always, Janet. Yet we get to experience, it is always on. We get to experience what that Bluetooth feels like in a group environment. I can't change the world by myself. Neither can Joan, neither can Janet. It takes all of us. So if you attend one of my events, whether it's coming up in Portland this weekend, I'm super excited, or Boulder on the 22nd, or Minneapolis on the 20th of October, whatever it is, we are literally creating a ripple in the fabric of what we consider reality that is a permanent pin in miracle manifestation wherever we create this energy signature. So I'm hoping people come to ignite their own miracle potential and to be able to take that out of the event, take it to their family groups, take it to their universes. And it takes no time at all to spread this miracle consciousness through the ethers. That's what I'm really excited about during this tour.
I would think that people will feel it in the level of reality that it's being presented in. And that, like this show, like what you're always doing with your writing and videos, is that there's a state awareness there. And it's the state awareness. So what you take from it is going to work on lots of different levels. And so just in being, because you're going to embody that state of awareness, you'll take it to the neighbor, you'll take it to the street, you'll take it to your bed, you'll take it wherever, because it's in your being. And all you have to do is take the moment to notice that you're there. Right, and how that'll play out. Danielle, always so much information. I thank you so very much. It's getting time for me to honor Joan.
Right on. Okay.
With the schedule, and I hope that this dialogue, everyone, that we've been establishing continues to unfold for each of you, and for you, Danielle. We wish you so well on your journey as you bring of enlightenment that you bring and share with all of us. So we've been talking with Danielle Egnew, internationally renowned psychic, medium, angelic channel. And I think if you've been listening to this show, you got all that. And she's appeared on ABC, NBC, USA, TNT, and featured in the Washington Post and Huffington Post. She's consulted on a number of television projects. I'm not going to mention all those again, I don't think. She's a wonderful musician. And a writer. So her book, Paranormal True Tales of the Truly Weird, it debuted at Amazon's Top 200. As a director, her paranormal documentary film, Montgomery House, The Perfect Haunting, was lauded as the real paranormal activity by Hollywood Today. As a musician, with her album, You've Got to Get Back to the Way You Came, winning Best Country Recording at the 2017 Native American Music Awards in New York. And she's on her path. She starts here in Portland this weekend on her Ascension Tour. You'll be able to join her there, or in Boulder, or in Minneapolis, and many other places. So tickets are available online at ascensiontour.com. Thank you, Danielle. It's been such a delight to be with you.
Well, thank you, Janet. I always have such a great time, and blessings to you and Joan.
Blessings back, girl. All right, everyone. So if you'd like to know more about us on the show and some of our other great guests that you can track that we've had in the last 3 or 4 years, we invite you to our show website, www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. You can listen to all our podcasts there. both our blogs that we write, our schedules for meetups, Joan in the Puget Sound area, me for here in Portland, and Tuesdays and Thursdays at my home, and about our sessions. All our social media addresses are there: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, links on that site. We have a listener offer for joining us there, and about my groups on Thursdays via Zoom video conferencing. You can join me, and it's just as close to being here because you can feel it. And Joan's meet is going to be at the Emerald Spiral Expo, September 22nd, 9 to 5, and she's got a 1 p.m. talk. Join her there. You always get great information with Joan. And I want to thank you all for being with us today. You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet and our guest Danielle Egnew today. And as you're listening to this, we want you to remember that you are consciousness, wherever you think you feel that. And we are always expressing and evolving, and the world is full of wonder. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.